Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Sets video. Today's video is going to be all about Suicune, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Suicune is a mono water type Pokemon introduced in Generation 2, and is one of the 3 legendary Pokemon from the Johto region that actually roam around the entire area as you're playing through the game. As for its abilities though, the first one that it gets is known as Pressure, which is an ability that makes it so that your opponent uses twice the number of PP every single time they attack you. So for example, a move like Fire Blast has 8 PP. If you, say, switch in Suicune on it, it's going to use 2 PP each time, meaning that your opponent will actually only get to use Fire Blast 4 times on a Pokemon that has the Pressure ability, which is a really cool advantage to having this because it makes some of the more powerful moves in the game a little bit less useful, because your opponents, if they're going for them often and you have a Pressure Pokemon out in the field, cannot use them as much throughout the battle, which is kind of a really cool strategy you can use this with this ability. But as for its secondary ability, it is Suicune's hidden ability that is currently unreleased, which is Water Absorb, which makes it so that Suicune is immune to water-type attacks and also recovers health every time it switches in or is attacked by a water-type move. I have no idea when this ability will ever get released, but it's important to note that this is something that Suicune potentially may have in the future. But as for its stats, the first thing to note is that Suicune has amazing bulk, with base 100 HP, 115 defense, and 115 special defense, meaning that this Pokemon is capable of taking hits from both the physical and special side for days because of how high these stats are, and it makes it a very difficult Pokemon to take down as a result, which is something that's really cool about this particular legendary dog. But as for its attacking stats, Suicune has a base 75 physical attack, which isn't amazing, but it also isn't terrible either. But still, more often than not, you're going to be wanting to go with its special attack, which is a really nice base 90. And with this, Suicune actually learns quite a few really powerful special attacking moves, such as Hydro Pump and things like that, and it is definitely a usable attacking stat to allow Suicune to dish out a lot of damage to your opponent's Pokemon. And the last thing to make note of is that Suicune has a base 85 speed, which is pretty average among the speed tiers of Pokemon, but either way, it allows it to not be outsped by a ton of things, and also allow it to potentially gain an advantage in battle if you were to, say, run an offensive set on Suicune. So overall, this Pokemon has some very, very well balanced stats, allowing it to take hits really well, and also potentially outspeed things and dish out damage from the special side. So for the first set that I'm going to share with you in this video, we're going to start off by giving Suicune a Calm Nature to increase its special defense and lower its physical attack, and then be going with the Pressure ability. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 EVs in its HP to max that out, 176 into its defense, 68 into its special defense, and 12 EVs into its speed to give Suicune its best mixed bulk possible, while also making it slightly faster than normal. And for the item, we're going to be going with Leftovers to allow Suicune to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But for the moves on the set, this set is basically designed to be the most effective pressure staller in the game, at least what I believe to be one of the most effective pressure stallers. I would say maybe Kyurem does it a little bit better, but Suicune can definitely do it as well. But either way, this set is going to start off with Substitute, which is a move you very often see on Suicune on a sub-Calm Mind set, but the reason for it on this set is basically to allow Suicune to get behind a protective barrier, to take attacks, and also potentially stall out your opponent's PP and get some damage on them in the process. So along with Substitute, we're actually going to be running Protect as well. So basically, if your opponent is trying to break your Substitute, you have Protect and Substitute up to basically mean that your opponent has to use at least 4 PP of some move in order to eventually break your Substitute. And on the turn they break your Substitute, you can just go for a Substitute again, Protect on the next turn, and then they have to break it again. So you can see how this set can be very, very, very frustrating for your opponent to deal with, because of the fact that this is just so effective at not getting hit with Protect and Substitute in combination with one another. And also, the fact that Suicune has such impressive bulk, it means that a lot of moves might not even be able to break its substitutes regardless, because of how bulky it is, especially with this mixed defensive EV spread. Now in order to add to that, we're actually going to be running Scald on this set as well, which is one of the best water type attacks in the game because of the 30% chance to burn, making it even harder for physical attackers to break Suicune's sub, and thus being even more effective at potentially pressure stalling the PP of their moves. And for the last attack on this set, we're either going to be running Toxic or Roar. Toxic for obvious reasons in being able to wear down your opponent's HP, and that works incredibly effectively with Substitute and Protect because you're able to stall out turns as your opponent slowly accumulates toxic damage over time. But Roar could also be really effective as well if Suicune gets put in a bad matchup. It also synergizes well with entry hazards and can also get rid of Baton Pass if your opponent is using some type of team that focuses around being able to Baton Pass certain stat boosts to other Pokemon. So that can be very effective, or just having Suicune be able to come in, maybe take a hit from already a boosted attacker, and be able to roar it out to make that threat go away. Another really important thing to note about this set is that because Suicune has base 100 HP, and we're maxing it out with those 252 EVs, its subs cannot be broken by moves like Nightshade or Seismic Toss, because its substitutes have a HP of 101, which is one more point than Substitute or Seismic Toss is able to hit you for. So that is another really effective thing about this set as well. But overall, this is just meant to be a really effective stalling set for Suicune that works incredibly well at stalling out moves that have low PP and also potentially statusing attackers and slowly wearing them down over time. As for this next set, we're going to be giving Suicune a more offensive role in battle. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either a timid nature to increase its speed but lower its physical attack, or a modest nature to increase its special attack but lower its physical attack. And again, we're going to be going with the pressure ability. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into its special attack to max that out, 4 into its special defense to make its special defense slightly higher than its physical defense to mess with Pokemon that use the download ability, because against Suicune they'll get the physical attack boost instead of the special one, and because download Pokemon are typically special attackers, this is a really good way to make their sets less effective. And for the last thing with the EV spread, we're going to also max Suicune's speed with 252 EVs into that. And as for the item, because we're being a little bit more offensive, we can run a Life Orb to give some additional damage to Suicune with the added side effect of losing 10% of our health every time we attack, or we could make use of Leftovers again on the set to allow Suicune to have increased survivability by allowing it to recover HP at the end of every turn. But for the moves, the first one that we're going to be going with on this set is going to be Hydro Pump, which is the strongest water type attack that Suicune learns, and this is going to be pretty much the bulk of your damage on this set. It's going to allow you to dish out a ton of damage to anything on your opponent's side of the field that doesn't resist it, and allows Suicune to be very offensive, which a lot of people don't expect, because typically the only water type attack you see on Suicune is Scald. So Hydro Pump, which is, a good 30 more base points in power, is going to be able to dish out a lot more damage than Scald typically would. Also, for some type coverage, we're going to be running Ice Beam, which is very effective in allowing Suicune to take down some grass types that it might be matched up against, because obviously they do hit water types super effectively, but ice types hit grass types super effectively, so that's something to keep in mind. Also, if you want to be a little bit more risky, you could theoretically run Blizzard in this spot as well, but Ice Beam still has enough base power to be incredibly reliable. And for the next move slot, we could either run a combination of either Shadow Ball, Extra Sensory, or Hidden Power Grass. Hidden Power Grass is basically to allow Suicune an effective move to hit other water types, because as you see from the other two moves that we have right now, Hydro Pump and Ice Beam are both resisted by water type Pokemon, so Hidden Power Grass will definitely help it out in terms of being able to hit a greater variety of Pokemon types. But Shadow Ball and Extra Sensory could also be very useful in terms of the type coverage that they provide. Obviously Shadow Ball being good against Ghost and Psychic types, whereas Extra Sensory is great against Poison and Fighting type moves, or Pokemon, excuse me. So both have their merits in terms of type coverage, and both also have a unique effect, with Shadow Ball having that % chance to lower your opponent's special defense, and Extra Sensory having that chance to flinch your opponent. But for the last move on this set, we're going to be running a move that I have been, slowly more researching over the last few weeks and stuff like that, which is Tailwind, which is a move that allows you to boost the speed of your entire team by 2 stages for pretty much 4 turns, I believe. So the turn you use it counts as a turn that Tailwind is active, and then 3 turns after that, everything on your side of the field has a doubled speed stat. which is amazing for this set because it allows Suicune to be an effective sweeper after it sets up a Tailwind. Because we're maxing speed, it means it will pretty much outspeed any Choice Scarfer on your opponent's side of the field and allow it to be very effective at killing the rest of the Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field. Also, if you don't think you have an opportunity to sweep with Suicune, you could very easily just switch out, and now something else on your team will get the benefit of the Tailwind, increasing their speed and allowing them to be even more of an effective attacker. So this move has, multiple uses in allowing Suicune to not only be an effective sweeper, but also maybe helping out something else on your team to outspeed the opponent's Pokemon. But either way, this is possibly one of the best ways to use an offensive Suicune that isn't a boosting set with Calm Mind, and it definitely gets a lot of damage out of Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, and then the coverage move, and gets the added team support through Tailwind, as well as allow it to sweep effectively once it has boosted its speed with this move. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this Suicune video, so I want to thank you all for watching, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I'll see you all next time.